Hi, it's Mr. Benson here, just with a quick video on the financial math stuff that we're working on at the moment. I just want to show you some of the things that you need to be working on for 11A and 11B. You might be up to these already or not. You may have missed some classes this week due to sport, and there's also the German excursion on Thursday, so a bunch of you will be missing some of the lessons, and it'd be good if you could do some of this stuff at home. So the first idea, this is part of 11A. A lot of you have probably done this already and you might be familiar with it. Just the idea of unit price. So unit price is the cost of a standard unit. So often when you go to the supermarket, things are all sorts of different sizes. So you might have some things that are 1 kilo or some things that are 500 grams or whatever. And it's difficult to compare the prices. So we have a unit price, which is usually a price per 100 grams. So if we've got something that is 100 grams, then the unit price, so if it costs $2.50 for that 100 grams, the unit price is just $2.50 per 100 grams. Now, if a 200 gram chocolate bar costs $4, what we've got to think about is how many units there are here. Now, 200 grams is 200 over 100, which is the standard unit, so it is 2 units. So the price per unit is going to be $4 over 2, which equals $2 per 100 grams. Now, there are lots of different ways you could work this out. We could set this out a different way, where we might go 360, which is the price, divided by 450 divided by 100. So you could kind of do it in one calculation like that. So what this is going to work out to is 360 divided by 4.5, which is going to equal 80 cents per 100 grams. So several different ways of setting it out. The main thing is that you're figuring out how many 100 gram units there are, and you're working out the cost per each one of those. Okay, moving on to the next one, the idea of discount. Now, you see this stuff all the time where things are discounted by a certain amount. Basically what it's saying is that the amount that you're going to pay is the original amount minus 10% of that original amount. Now, that's one way of thinking about it. So we could think about the fact that we're going to pay $90 less, so minus 10% of the original price of $90. So we could work this out as 90 minus 10%. Remember, we could write that as 0.1, which is probably going to be easier to put into your calculator. 90, and so that's going to be 90 minus 9, which equals $81. Now, there is another way of thinking about this as well, which is that we can think about it as paying the original price times 100%, which is, you know, what the original price was. It was just itself, because that's the same as multiplying by 1, minus the discount percentage. So we're taking off 10%, so this is the same as $90 times 100% minus 10% is 90%. So on my calculator, 90 times 90% is 0.9, and again, $81. So the whole thing with this is that there's several different ways of expressing it or of writing it down. They're all completely fine. Okay, profit is the idea of when you sell something in a business, you want to make more money than you spend. So profit is how much you sell something for minus what it cost you. Now, if I buy something for $5 and sell it for $10, how much have I made? Profit is going to be the amount I brought in, so what I sold it for, $10 minus $5, which is my cost. So in this case, I've made a $5 profit. Now, when we talk about percentage of profit, what we're talking about is the profit over the cost times 100%. So in this case, we've got $5 over $5, so our profit was $5, our cost was $5, times 100%, Now in this case we've actually made a 100% profit. Now the other way that this often gets described is markup. So you'll see that word used sometimes. Basically, if you're making 100% profit, that's really good. Lots of businesses would make different profits. Now, loss is obviously opposite of that. It's when you end up selling something for less than what you bought it for. So we calculate it in exactly the same way. Now, loss is just the difference between the buying price and the selling price. So I sold it for 9. Now in this case, actually there might be a better way of thinking about this, but in this case I'm ending up with minus $6 as my answer. Now that's probably not the most useful way of thinking about it. Normally when we're talking about a loss we always mean that it's a negative number, so we would just ditch the negative sign, and so we would say loss equals $6. A loss of a negative 6 value is more a way you might describe the profit, but that would be a little bit weird. So generally speaking, when you're doing loss or profit, it is just really the bigger number minus the smaller number, but you're only going to be getting a loss if you sell it for less than what you bought it for. So we could probably equally say in this case, you know, our loss is 15 minus 9, giving us a loss of $6. I suppose the good way about doing it this way, where it's always the revenue minus the expenditure, is that if you get a negative number, you know you've got a loss. If you get a positive number, you know you've got a profit. So doing it the second way I've shown you, where you swap the revenue and the expenditure around, is probably a bad idea. Moving on, calculating the selling price. If I buy something for 16 and I want to make a $25 profit, what we've just have to think about from what we've done before is that the profit is the amount that we're adding on to our selling price. Now if I'm adding 25% of the original amount on, then I'm going to have my sell price is going to equal my cost plus 25% profit times the cost again. So this is one way of thinking about it. So I've got my cost of 16, 25% or 0.25 times 16 is just 4, so I'm going to end up with $20 as my selling price. Now the other way to think about it, which is possibly you might prefer, is that it's the same as saying $16, which is our cost, times 100% plus our profit 25%. So I'm just going to have 16 times 125% or 1.25, I'm going to get $20 as my selling price. Making a loss, so again it's just the opposite thing. We're selling it for less than we bought it. So if I want to find my selling price, it's just going to be my cost. In this case it's going to be minus 15% times the cost again. So this part of the equation here is going to give me my actual loss. So in this case, $10 minus 15% of 10, or 0.15 times 10 is going to be $1.50. So $1.50 is my loss in dollar terms, and so I'm going to end up with $8.50 as my selling price. Or if you prefer the other way, it is $10 minus $10 times 100%. Now in this case we're going to take away our loss, 15%, and so what we're going to end up with is the selling price is going to be $10 times 85%. So we're going to sell it for 85% of the selling of the cost price, which obviously means we're making that loss again. And so again we end up with the same answer as $8.50. So either ways of setting these out is completely fine. Do whichever one works for you. Okay, that's all. If you could have a go at some of the exercises from 11A or 11 into 11B if you're not in class, for until I think Friday might be our last lesson, that'd be good, just to get a bit of practice on those. Thank you.